We are ready to get started. So if everyone could find a seat. So welcome everybody. Can everybody hear okay? All right. I'm so happy to be here today to celebrate and hear the work of these poets. So this is what's going to happen. We're going to proceed in alphabetical order, and each person will introduce the person who's coming next. Some of my students have asked for their portfolios. If you need your portfolio, there's a stack here. I'm just going to ask to please remember to give it back to me before the night is over. And we played a little surrealist game today with question and answers. So we have questions and answers that each person can begin with if they want to. So I'm going to go ahead and start. Why do people like fries? Your hands are not on a clock. I'm going to read one poem. It's called Remedy. Sewn beneath eyelids, closes looking. Yet prism eye tastes music, city sought, sea cast, warmth when splashed with insufficiency is an incapacity to name. Words to hear and then to go home with, fiery, until you learn to disappear, only for short instants, interior to whole. We being one, we being momentarily disappear, extend long enough that we might. Later is an excuse, a ruse, a foremost, flailing. Moments well behaved by water are gone. Pulsation stops, not euphoria of letters. Do you know any calm words? Do you see how this leads to a precipice? Yet, how to turn with no aside on either side, like a featherless child a long way from bone. Facility with which you speak, flower to follower. Like a rudderless wind, go where, bright like any animal, into the irresistible. Atomizer of time, a long way from known. If you want yourself back, garner, oracular. And now I'll introduce the first student. Kayla Bernstein is a senior who discovered the importance of feedback and reader reactions in crafting her poetry. One time, she was dancing silently to a Zumba tutorial in her common room, and her neighbor walked in and saw her awkwardly punching the air. Please welcome Kayla.
Okay. Would Google Maps ever drive me off a cliff? Fresh air, cupcakes, singing. Put these aside. Okay. So, I'm kind of tall. It's a common struggle. Okay, so I have 2 poems. They're kind of like a continuation piece that I want to continue, maybe make into like a small book or something. Then that idea was given to me by our class, so thank you. All right, so the first poem is called I Don't Have a Bump. Elementary school, lunchroom. I was sitting next to my best friend, and she still is. I learned a way to tell if someone's Jewish, she said. How did the conversation even get there? Somewhere between Capri Sun and Lunchables we reached anti-Semitism. I learned a way to tell if someone's Jewish. Just a second ago, I was any other student. Then suddenly, I was a Jew. She ran her finger down the smooth bridge of her nose steadily. See, I don't have a bump. So I'm not Jewish, like she won the lottery. My heritage turned into a second-grade game. The playground would never be the same. She was my friend. She didn't mean it. I don't think she even realized what it meant. Does any of that matter, though? And Christmas time, we all played Secret Santa. You don't have to be Christian to play. How lucky I am. I ran my finger down my own nose. No bump. No, it doesn't work. I'm Jewish and I don't have a bump, I said proudly. Pride in my ability to hide my origins. I exhaled. No one can tell that I'm me. Thank God. I am safe. Deep breath and a sip of Capri Sun. And the next poem is called Ew? No. Hell yeah. It'll make sense, hopefully, towards the end. Okay. I have retraced this moment endlessly, zoomed in on every furrowed, twitching brow, prepubescent cackling, looked down at my 13-year-old Jewish hands 1,000,000 times. Felt the silence before condemnation, which has never stopped haunting me. Marked without consent. After 8 years, the goosebumps still dot every inch of flesh, color me in. Sometimes I tear them off my skin, hoping to erase. But they always scab and come right back, the memory. There I was, the only Jew. Ew, no, drills in my ear. That squeaky rat voice scratches my eardrums to pencil shavings. We were in art class. Thomas, are you Jewish? Simple question, but it never is. Not when Jewish is spit out like a bug you accidentally swallowed on your way to Sunday church. Cleanse yourself. Ew, no. I know every particle of this memory exactly as it happened. I relive it more than I ever knew I would. Like I'm there again. Except when I think of it now, something's changed. Kayla, are you the only Jewish person at the table? This time, I look up from my self-portrait project, look the fucker in the eye, and say, hell yeah. Thank you. Okay, so next we have Siobhan Calhoun is a junior studying biology and fine arts. She thoroughly enjoyed this class and all of the chances for snack breaks in which she ate copious amounts of peanut M&Ms and drank gallons of lemonade.
I was like, where are you reading this from? And then I realized there's a piece of paper up here. Very clever. I'm not quite as tall as Kayla, but that's a wonderful thing to be, though. Okay, question and answer before I start. Stop talking. Okay. Oh, I got two. Okay. Let's see. The question is, what is the most beautiful thing about you? And the answer is, wow, this is really hard to read. Okay. Oh, wait, there's a backside. Okay. Traveling the world and being carefree. That's really nice. That's so nice. Okay. I think I'm going to read one rather long thing. It's a journal entry, so hopefully it won't be forever. But this was a response to Harriet Mullen's Urban Tumbleweed, which is about Los Angeles. And here's my letter to her. Harriet, you said you missed the tree's season of fire, but everything seems to be burning now. I read the news, and a new fire breaks out every day and every hour. I wonder if they could lift the whole ocean, would it be enough? And where would all the fish go? I imagine we would have to make a new home for them. Sunny Brooklyn is much more digestible, and we went to the botanical gardens there just like you did in LA. The koi looked so peaceful and beautiful, the afternoon light glinting off their scales. We wandered through the greenhouse's endless rooms, desert, tropical, temperate. The rainforest was cloying, and the air stuck to my skin like another layer of clothing pressing in lightly. People had carved their names into the flesh of one of the trees. Cruel and vicious. I wondered why they would have even bother entering the garden. Like they can't leave some part of the leaves untouched. Everything had to be contained by a few measly letters. We inhaled grass and plant and dirt, and we moved to the temperate room, feeling at home, feeling like California. and everything is so lovely, our candid smiles lingering as we talk and make our way across the grounds. My brother says he doesn't know if he'll ever return to California. I think he's found a home here, and I wonder if generations of our family will continue to move back and forth across the country so that we're always missing each other. Was it the dryness that captured your interest? LA for me was always dry, not the city, but the surrounding area. We'd walk the hills twice every day. One path had an ending, a summit that felt so high when I was small. The other path was never ending. It could have gone on for miles. There could have been a secret government building back there, and no one would have known. No one would have kept walking for fear of the heat, the rattlesnakes, and the infinite. Does the dust follow your every footstep when you hike? LA for me wasn't really LA. When you went to the ocean, did you only get your feet wet? Teddy only ever gets his feet wet at home. Down in LA, I walked up and down the beach, toes sinking into the sand, plush beneath my feet. I walked mostly alone, soaking up the sun and salt and static of waves brushing the shore like a lover, retreating and advancing softly. I would miss the stars if I lived in the city. You talked about the trees and the grass, and I wonder how you could ever bottle that. Truly. I would bottle the smell of rain hitting the pavement and old linen clothes, but I think that every time I opened the jar, I would cry. I'm gonna put that there for a second. We've been getting a lot of rain, but fall has been quickly transgressed into winter, seemingly overnight, as it always does here. I miss the graduality of California. I've stitched it into the lining of my jackets, covered in sea spray and mist. I remember looking at this photograph of my mother, traipsing through a puddle in the humid Michigan summer, my brother and I following behind her, like the ducklings you describe. She told me I used to love splashing in puddles, but now the damp squelching of my feet only wrinkles. It feels like so long ago that I was a child. Whenever we go out walking, my mother likes to point out the birds and how beautiful the finches are with their yellow streaks and the baby owls with their ruffled fur. We spend our time looking up into trees that have never burned. And because I have time, I'll read another really short poem, if you don't mind. This one was the first poem for the prompt for George Perec's On Exhausting a Place in Paris. And this is called Carved from Clay. I can't even tell you the number of times someone told me I was loud. Like loud was an insult, or I should back down from some unnameable fight. It started to chafe their attempted stifling. Didn't matter what variation they threw my way. Casually, oblivious woodpeckers, no one filled the void when I was quiet. I was stuck watching baby birds poke their heads from the nest, reluctant while I seethed. Well, your plan for my submission failed. Your offhanded remarks drowned by my voice like water squeezing air from atrophying lungs, and it was fun knowing you failed. Every time I raise my hand, every time I write in marker, I look at the ink stains on my hands, your head turned in my direction, and I watch you fail all over again. Cool, that's it. Okay, so up next, we have Hannah Goldberg. She's a sophomore studying music and English. She's especially interested in, okay, here we go, ekphrasis, is that right? Ekphrasis, I'm sorry, from instrumental music. She plans on hibernating deeply in the coming weeks and believes bears have the right idea when considering lifestyle choices, on which we agree.
Hi all. Oh boy. All right. What is a question? And I am not scared. So I'm going to read two poems for you all. The first is called Incendium et Mortem. Insecticide, cyanide, spermicide, baby ride or die. We're already burning and churning and spurning everything we swore we would protect. But if you do it well, I promise I won't forget the way you set me on fire, burning the prairie, the forest, on the seas. Everything is alight, and the plumes are always so beautiful. I did say I took a liking to my lover's retinal reflection, dry grass blazing brilliant orange and salted driftwood, wasted in shades of green. With envy and greed for all the oil-soaked money you have saved to keep me a kept woman, so I can write you into history if you're lucky and I don't perish from the fumes first. But who's to say I'll paint you favorably? I never tell. The truth is hard to bear sometimes, just as it is now hard to bear children, and we are forced to bear ourselves aloft on now temperate high waters. Maybe I'd like to drown you or crown you tomorrow on our beachfront property in what was once a landlocked state, has no intention of concerning itself with waterlogged corpses, fossilized and oil-pressed, crippled with guilt and gilded terror. Choke on me, darling. These polluted skies and polluted thoughts are all yours. Fool to think I'd stay sane when you bankrolled the hay, fields, and pinewood forests. I will admit I crave the heat of you and your combustible wealth, bed warmer as you serve me glacier fresh water, but I have always and will remain glacial for forcing me to scar the land with my movement. Money man, why would I want to bring children into a woodless world without spring cherries and apricot orchards? I was promised summer cottages, daytime sex on crisp cotton sheets, and good schools for our children and grandchildren and great children. There are no more children, and I despise what you have made of me. I'd rage a little harder, but this world has already been ravaged enough by my tides and unfavorable skies. This bed will remain empty until it rains again in Amazonia. You'll never call me mother. Nature is dead. Your lot brutalized her, flayed her, left her lying in the fields, giving finance and toxin a go, claiming human nature. This is my nature. Nation suffocation and desalination. I, the barren, the rotting, will consume you in flame all the same. And then my second poem is an ekphrastic poem for the rite of spring called Veneration. The opening divine, we consummate selection for savored vitality, unopen, undone in primacy, primordial being. We are both God and supplicant, here I am supposed to gasp. I, ornamental and sacrificial, the discarded petal cast from a soon wilted, winter-kissed bouquet, I do so love the decay. Fear and matrimony, there's harmony in these cries, our thighs, and delicacy in the taste of the one who dies. I am made your rite and altar communion. Am I useful at last? With the jagged slice of your knife, bleed me, spill my ambrosia lifeblood, and I will rain down adoration of the earth. Brothers, we despise you. As you take us in strife, I cry, I die, I come back to life. Sex a sigh, oh please, let me die, and do it again, 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 and swallow dead earth a moan. Writhing in the vernal, I beg, virgin eternal. In so lavished agony, the price well paid, I will suffice. Dance, beg me to dance augurs across bodies in sacrificial throes, slow seduction, quartered in rounds, untouched for crescendo, sheathed in red. Who will save me in the grass? Spring is natural, the destruction of the whole by opened souls. What we gratify is foretold. The rains will come with the end. Sisters dance for honor, for sex, circles within circles always turning. We love our brother's violence, divided by sage, maidens for moments. I, eternal and soft, soon it will be time to die. Glorification as my steps falter. Yes, drink my age. May the delight in my exhaustion. Now, 11 beats upon my frame. Shattered femur cry. Snap out my pleasure, alight, alive, and crimson streaks down from the hollows of my eyes. Move, yes, choose, yes, again, yes, 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 the new fountains are me. Crushed carpals and tarsals were only carnal. Soon, now, soon, wet breath and pyre. Mother, I am become desire. Climax, all hands, so many hands, a world all a whirl, nausea and adrenaline. I churn with the movements of our ancestors. Burnt offering, charred flesh, incense and incendiary. I fall, I fall, I fall. They dance over my body, feet pounding beats, rib cage crack, the skies an imitation, sex, blood, we are ancient. Death. Thank you. And up next, we have Jamal Hay. Jamal is a fourth-year computer science student. He's a big fan of Justin Bieber, loves every Christopher Nolan movie. In parentheses, The Prestige is the best.
Hannah is always a very tough act to follow. but I'll do my best. Why does toothpaste live chicken nuggets? Okay, this definitely doesn't make any sense. Tell the security guard at VP that you put 5 library books in your bags illegally. Okay. We'll try it. Who are you? What is it that makes you you? Is it the way your smile reflects in the puddle as you bend to tie your laces? Your soft breath, gentle eyes beckoning me forward. Is that really you? What if I saw you when you thought no one was watching? Saw the way you dance to music? Is your music fast or slow? Does it make you feel something? Or are you trying to drown out feelings past? What if I understood your childhood? Did you play sports or maybe an instrument? How old were you when you had your first heartbreak? Was that the first time you cried? Does his name still ring in your ears sometimes before you drift to sleep? Have you ever dreamt about him and woken up shaking? When you're with me and our lips touch, and your hair straightens, and your heartbeat races, and your eyes roll back, is it to meet his gaze? What if I spent the day inside you? Would my nose twitch subtly right before I laugh? Would my knees still shake whenever I'm sitting still? Would I cry helplessly watching 2 small dogs in the park? Would I still love me? Maybe then, just then, I would understand how you could leave me, aching, broken, and not feel a single thing. I remember that it hurts, looking at her hurt. The first line from our favorite movie. We laughed then, how melodramatic. Then reality sank in. We met on TV, 22 years between us. Butting heads, I won. You never did forgive me, did you? I remember when I shook your hand, I felt something. I told my friends you'd be my girlfriend. And 5 years and a ball date later, you were. Like song and dance, we were inseparable, put on this earth for one purpose, each other. It was perfect, truly, storybook, until it wasn't. I remember the first time I saw you cry, February 2nd, 2016. You were in my car, begging me not to do this, but I was so sure it was the right thing, so all I did was argue. Logic? While your sobs played falsetto, and your wails changed the key. Even your tears were rhythmic. Unforgotten symphony, and I was the conductor. The next day you weren't at school, or the day after, so I came by to bring you those double chocolate chip cookies you liked. And there you were, in that white Hollister t-shirt I gave you, black Nike shorts, unmatched socks, hair in a bun, curled tight in the fetal position, on the cold wooden floor. Aw, sweetheart, I'm so sorry, I said. Everything will be okay soon, I said. Pitiful words your ears rejected, while one part of you after another caught on fire. I tell myself that I wish I could go back and do things differently. That distance didn't have to end us. Distance. The reason I gave you, and myself. You always suspected I was lying. I never told you. You were right. 4 years later, we still talk every day. You haven't moved on. I probably should have let you. Stuck in love. Befitting, isn't it? And the next we have Fiorentina Huang. Theo is fine. My name is too long. I'm not sure if I was supposed to say. Yeah, never mind. Huang's favorite pastime is reading, writing, and doing neither of those things. Her life philosophy revolves around the idea that if she's going to fail, she might as well do it in a nice outfit. Okay.
I'm short, so this is kind of okay. Okay. Question. What will the world look like if gender equality is actually achieved? Answer. Chocolate is necessary. Very true. I will be reading 2 poems, maybe 3 if time allows. The 2 poems I will be reading are Van Gogh's Sunflowers on Fire and I Am Made of Water and Air. Does it hurt when you breathe and a clock hand punctures your lungs? I want to talk about why I can't hear out of my left ear. All the petals curled up in my throat, fuzzy and furled up like a metal trap. Does the world still spin when you're spinning with it? Or are my eyes a particular shade of starry blue? There's no music, but my vision dances. I can't bear to look at myself in the mirror in the morning. Will I find a skeleton with a cigarette between my teeth? Will I finally be smiling then? I want to talk about shapes and swirls and how reality is a flame and one part and another of me catches on fire. I feel like I swallowed a pine tree upside down and I can't pull it out without tearing my entire insides out. Maybe I'll just vomit a boat on a lamplit river and then vomit flowers forever. A blossoming almond tree, poppies, irises. I see the world so sharp and clear like a knife to my head or a bullet to my stomach. Green veins on my wrists like sunflower stalks. Each act of creating is an act of suffering. Even my tears are rhythmic. Van Gogh's Sunflowers on Fire. This is an anatomical poem. Dark and bright, the color of no color. I was nurtured in water, an ocean cradled me inside my mother's womb. I only lived when I took my first breath, that sharp and sweet inhale. Turbulence, I move the sky. I do not fear the weight of night, not when air fills my lungs like wings. My skin is not static. My skin is a calm surface, never still. Hokusai heart, I swallowed a storm when I was 12. My bones are hollow, halo, like the mists that flow within my bones. The same air and the same water nameless gods might have used. I prevail like the winds. Who do you follow? The stream. Where does it go? The ocean. That which all life began, to which I will return. My atoms will rise like mist over the horizon. The strongest winds cannot be seen. How can you say you see who I am? You don't. No. The currents flowing in my veins. This is preordained, written in my DNA. I am made of water and air. Okay. Since we have time, I'm gonna read a third poem that is made of words entirely not my own. It is a response to Magnolias All at Once, which is a collage. So this is a collage of Margaret Atwood, Haruki Murakami, and George Orwell. In the end, we all become stories. The end was contained in the beginning. Listen up. There's no war that will end all wars. War is what happens when language fails. War is peace. The essential act of war is destruction. Most things are forgotten over time, even the war itself. But who can remember pain once it's over? Only the dead stay 17 forever. There are ways of dying that don't end in funerals, types of deaths you can't smell. We lived in the gaps between the stories. All that remains of it is a shadow. We shall meet in the place where there is no darkness. The dead will always stay dead, but we have to go on living. I dream. Sometimes I think it's the only right thing to do. Time in dreams is frozen. You can never get away from where you've been. No matter how far you traveled, you can never get away from yourself. Reality exists in the human mind and nowhere else. Reality is different. Reality bites. Reality, reality. A word after a word after a word is power. I feel like the words shatter. It's a beautiful thing, the destruction of words. We are the dead. Our only true life is in the future. Everyone deep in their hearts is waiting for the end of the world to come. Still, you have to go there, to the edge of the world. There's something you can't do unless you go there. Thank you. Up next, we have Serena Martinez. She uses her, she pronouns, like the chocolate. She eats all of the cinnamon sugar clumps off the Starbucks coffee cakes because sugar is the fruit of life. True. She dances with pen dance and for herself in the mirror. Also a mood.
Good. I always look away like I can't, like they're not folded up. Okay. Question. How to come back to life? It's really good English. Answer. Tuesday I wanted to run. I'm going to read 2 poems. They're on my phone, but they're also in my portfolio. This one is called Moments Between Moments. Shaded lids, calm hearts, not ready to interact with opened eyes this early in the morning. Shallow tears form midst a yawn-stretched jaw, despite a solid sleep, solid being relative. A countdown occurs before takeoff to launch from under the covers out into the real world. We fight a losing battle, attempting to lie, our hair flat against the wind. The splattered paint of the earth decorates their windshields until it is easier to drive with your eyes shut. Drenched shoes, trap toes amongst water droplets, nobody wanting to be there. The grain-sized bug squiggled in the face of the poor dog, attempting to assert its dominance, or maybe just to have a purpose. They fight over electrical sockets, like vultures scrambling for the last bite, unaware that they're fighting for the wrong thing anyways. They were separate individuals this morning. Then, in the heat of the day, they melted into a blobbed, amorphous, chocolatey mess. A jagged nail protests against knit sweaters for the imperfect manicure performed in the dark. A dull roar indulges my ears in overwhelming comfort until one voice, louder than the rest, breaks through the bliss. Frozen eyes accompanied rosy cheeks set to one target, a crush unbeknownst to reality, the target likely never to feel any impact. Thousands of wet globes run to inside of my bag, excited to have finally escaped the confines of the deceivingly sealed water bottle. The floor never gets enough appreciation. The floor has always been there for me, when my legs couldn't do the job on their own. The zipper slid down after a long meal, unable to understand the importance of appearances. City lights glare with a pulsing rhythm, hinting to glazed eyes that the stars are up that way. And then this is my other poem called Somebody Else. Somebody else. When someone touches my shoulder, I feel it everywhere. Like a force field tripwire triggered by a touch, my insides inflate to occupy space, and instincts jump inches hoping to scare them off. Jab prepared alongside jagged metal nails, clang against a tattered heartbeat. Scanned sight and a neck turn away. I press my hands against the silence. The wind in my shell flies colored against sudden soot and dust, seeping out through porcelain nostrils, with so few outlets for release. Organs are knit with muddled colors. Gagged by threads, unencumbered breathing becomes a privilege, not a right, cleaved open to cleanse my insides of his poison. Ghost reasoning limps under my skin, dragging me half full to where I need to go, unaware of the flaking wake peeling onto the graveled floor. Scuffed toenails curve under the pressure, pain present only at the slight lifts of eyelids, shocked out of stillness. Weighted wings uncurl from a twisted spine, dusted under the pressure enough to unveil consciousness. If for the wrong reasons, nobody says, especially not me. Oh, sorry, I thought you were somebody else. And then next we have Matthew. Next, Matthew Miller's. We have Matthew Miller. Matthew's favorite Roman emperor is Constantine I. His favorite book for this course was Exercises in Style. He enjoyed the way the author was able to change the way the story was perceived, evoking different responses.
Oh, they're all here. These are the answers.
They should be in the back. Are we out of answers?
Okay, my question is, why is there so much cold at Penn? And then the answer is, chocolate is necessary. I guess I picked it. Whatever. I wrote something new. I just took like a letter of it, like all the 26 letters of the alphabet, and then wrote a sentence, like the first sentence that came to mind. And then after that, I just reflected for like a few paragraphs. So that's like another poem, I guess you could say. So, a person walks by me on the street, indifferent perhaps to their effects on me, alone in their minds, totally engrossed in their thoughts. Birds sing and play, enjoying their freedom on the green earth that we sometimes take for granted. Calling out to me, dusk reminds me of the urgency that is important to have. Doing nothing but breathing, I begin to realize who I am and who I am not. Everything around me, everything around you has a purpose, it just has to be found. Forget everything though, focus on you. Good is only what you think it is, good is only the rationale of man. Heaven comes for those who wait, for those who know what they are searching for those who challenge themselves and those only. Imagine a world with only peace. Would you like it? Would you even want it? Could you maintain it? Just be who you want to be. Don't let the shackles of society shackle you anymore. Kill your ego and be reborn. Kill the effects of any judgment, praise, or ridicule. Love your neighbors, whatever love means. Marry yourself to no ideas. Dip your toe into many avenues, flirting with them all, committing to none. Never again will you cry for your desires. Instead, you will smile when they are simple. Organize your thoughts around your purpose, letting ones that do not aid in such purpose drift away. Pause and ask yourself if you want this life. Queens and kings are no different from peasants and paupers. Right now you breathe, we breathe together as one. Sometimes I wish the world never existed. Though I know secretly I would still miss what could have been. Unless you need me, I must move on. Victory is a construction of the mind. We are all losers, happy and luminous failures. World so distant we live in, how could it be that there is only one? Xenon, a gas, a rarity like us. You never stop to say goodbye. Zigzag through my mind, this world I don't understand, and neither should you. And then this is the reflectance poem. Everything is unrelated yet related. This world is too small for things not to connect. Everything is merely a piece of a larger puzzle. Everything important. Nothing is irrelevant. No one is worthless. A human is a human. No more than another and no less. Today is a new day. We can make ourselves better than the last or not. It does not matter to me what happens, only that it does happen. Who's to say what happens in the future even matters if it does not affect the present? Maybe I will grow wings one day and be free, or maybe I will be free right now, whatever that means. That's it. That's why. Okay, the next. Does it have like the, doesn't have like the major of everyone in it? Okay. Madeline's song is Trying to Keep Her Room Clean. She's up next.
What would you do with a clean slate? Winking at a handsome stranger? I'm gonna keep this. Promised Land. Last night I put my shower caddy with my toothbrush and stuff on the counter, and I didn't realize it was kind of like hanging off the edge, and then the caddy fell into the toilet, the whole thing, loofah and all. So I got 2 pencils from my dorm and tried to kind of fish everything out, which I know sounds gross, but it's not like I could just leave my razor bobbing in the toilet. I guess it was kind of funny, but it would have been funnier if it wasn't my toothbrush, or if I hadn't accidentally touched the water, or if my sister hadn't called as I was squatting around the fucking toilet bowl. She gets afraid before competitions. I wanted to give her advice, a few impeccable sentences that would really get her in the zone or whatever, but I'm not sure if I've ever chased anything the way Poppy chases the triple axel. Watching her knife across the rink, arching her spine into the bleached white future, you have to think, there is something about that girl. Maybe she can go all the way. But I have to say, if you spend 40 years in the rink and you never find anything to pinch your teeth around, it won't be because your eyes weren't hungry or because you didn't see the light. If you find yourself in college, lost, very lost, fishing your toothbrush out of the co-ed toilet, fault isn't the word, baby. You did a good job, and whoever brought you here is going to take you home. Baptism. The Bible doesn't mention whether or not Noah had a sister, but there are many other things which I find difficult, even impossible to understand. For example, whenever I listen to classical music, I get the distinct feeling that I am being surrounded by clean water. That being said, I am not a proficient swimmer, and it is probably no surprise that I quit piano while my brother did not. In my limited experience, the trick with playing piano was to focus on one item at a time, like the dynamics, or the example that his simple fingers set swiveling. But the clotted harmonies, the concentration required just to stay afloat, they pulled my mind back and forth, and when you were flotsam in your own life, what can you do? I mean, really, what can you do? I did not know how to articulate this dread to my grandma, who is a deacon and purchased the piano, hoping that we would become proficient in yet another language she does not understand. But I can kind of get why God would not have let her on the ark. Rumpelstiltskin has no place in the Pentateuch, and being both a maker-doer and a musician is like being able to both swim and fly. To mezzo-soprano through South Korea's steel mill 60s, spinning sweaters out of curtains, out of straw songs like grief. My shoulders smell like olive oil, and I know no blessing is a blessing too. Know a song, beloved son, one line in a 7-page program. Dazzling boy, bathed in light, it does not hurt to look at you. Shinsadong with you. From Namsan Tower, you can see the whole city. Seoul on a bender, or maybe just bent on cutting its hair, and if sometimes an ear gets caught in the scissors, who can help it? Ava, baby, look at the trees we didn't climb, and the mountains we didn't climb, and the sun we didn't climb, each street lamp its own moon, strange planet where a little fly could live or die, making its own poem by incomprehensible light, guiding, nearly blinding, not necessarily white, whatever thing it will have made. Thank you. Rebecca Weinberger is a spunky sophomore majoring in urban studies. Her favorite pastimes include listening to music, writing on rainy days, relaxing on the beach, and even boxing. This girl packs a punch. Even though she's allergic to gluten, she's still determined to get that bread.
Where did the... Oh. Hey, guys. Okay. Let's do a question first. Can you guys hear me? Okay, so the question, who was your first crush? Answer, eyelashes. Makes a lot of sense. Okay, so I'm gonna write a first draft and then a revision based on some advice from my peers and Laynie. So the first poem is called Deja Vu, There's No Place Like Home, ×3. My eyes fluttered open. Darting around in panic, they searched for a sight to focus on. Something familiar, but everything seemed foreign. Subconsciously, I recognized this feeling. Do I? This panic of the unknown. I've been here before. Have I? Where am I? Who am I? Who are you? What are you crying for? Why am I crying? Why did you just begin smiling at me? Why do I feel solace in your embrace? Like my first moments here, my eyes felt full, and within seconds, the first tear fell, the point of no return, gushing involuntarily, messy and chaotic. I remember. This panic was cured by crying. They all smiled once I let out my first wail. I reached for my face. It felt much soggier than before, immediately realizing that my eyes were one step ahead. But where were my smiles, my embrace? Where was my cure? My eyes began to dart around again, frantically looking next to, above, in front, behind me. I think I am alone, lost, very lost. Can someone tell me what to do? No, echoed in a not-so-familiar voice from within my own head. Can I trust this voice? Will no one really just tell me what to do? Only confident that I am, indeed, lost. I must be. The only other explanation? I have been abducted by aliens, my memory has been wiped, and there is no cure, no embrace. I must study this new world, and where I am, and why I'm here, so I can go home and find myself once again. So we did a kind of a found material, so a lot of my peers gave advice if what they would kind of do from this poem, because I was ready to move forward with it. So I really liked Madeline talked about like a biblical foundation to it, so I try to base off that along with Laynie's comments on how to let the reader into the experience of the speaker. So here I go. Kirav Ravatka Ari, Genesis 49:9. Crouched like a lion. Fucking up is human. It is the essence of humanity. Even those of the utmost holiness transgress the will of God, and there's always a time for redemption. Rebecca and Isaac, their seed sprouted into two clashing nations, taking their legacy into their own hands. They sinned. Isaac let his personal desire control his actions, while Rebecca led her family apart through deception. Jacob and Rachel, their love, the origin of true love. Blinded by this love, they sinned. Jacob lied by omission, while Rachel played along, hurting her very own sister. Judah fucked up a lot, committed adultery, a Bible felony. Sin after sin, he ultimately was redeemed through his confession. I remember. This panic was not cured by crying. This crying was the first step to redemption. Letting go of all my lies, taking responsibility for my mistakes. Like Judah, I was tempted to place blame on anyone but myself, because God forbid my reputation goes to shit. But I stepped towards my redemption with an honest conscience. Crouched like a lion on the floor with a soggy face, questioning how I possibly got here. Which aliens had abducted me this time? I soon ran out of excuses. I was the alien who stripped myself of me. I decided to veer off the road, ignore the map. I decided I needed not an explanation, rather the courage of a lion to stand tall and accept my own humanity, and that I have sinned. He washeth his garments in wine, and his vesture in the blood of grapes. His eyes shall be red with wine, and his teeth white with milk. Genesis 49:11 and 12. Judah, Yehuda received the ultimate blessing, leading the nation. These shall thy brethren praise. Thy father's son shall bow down before thee. For Judah, the lion stood tall from his crouched past. As God rewrote his future, a lesson passed down to his legacy, us Jews, Yehudim. Confession. I was wrong. I was not lost. I have simply sinned, like every human does, and I shall not fear the place my mind gets lost in, only confident that when I am indeed lost again, no longer will I waste time wondering why. I am now familiar with the panic of the unknown. Come at me. There is a cure, there is solace in the embrace of my mistakes, and I repent. I repent the sins I commit to rewrite my future. And once the tears reach the point of no return, I begin to smile because home is near and I'm already one step closer to finding myself time and time again. Thank you. Okay. Vivian Wen, hey, I couldn't find you for a sec, is a senior majoring in comparative literature who is freaking out about what she's going to do next year. Her favorite color is the color of hot chocolate on a snowy night. Her Chinese name is Yu Xin, and her Bose speaker pronounces as Yuxin. She named herself Vivian. In Romance languages, Viv means to be alive. Vivian.
Hi, everyone. I feel like this is like opening my fortune cookies. Question. What are you singing? Answer. The white with only has one eye. So the class knows that I like to write poems about numbers and scientific facts, and today I actually want to take this chance to thank my boyfriend, who is a material scientist, for inspiring me. And I'm gonna read 3 poems, 2 lies, 1 truth, so 2 fictional, and 1 that is very personal and important to me. So first, chili paste. I missed my train and walked into a grocery store for shelter. Your favorite one. Every year, mucky cans of chili paste are stashed at the corner of aisle 4 like memories stacking onto one another for 5 winters on the snowy 6th Avenue. Loving you was 5 car crashes with 0 insurance, unconditional. We both paid. I paid more heed to the smudge on the boots at the door, plastic trash, blackening snow. Our text messages smoldered in the Cold War, my heart vinegar over pomelo. I wrote 2 hate poems and 3 about the chili you liked. A blood-colored smear on the door, on the floor by that candy shelf. Someone dropped it. Snow alights on tree branches, 1,714 days piling into a horrifying white weight. The guy outside the bodega tries to sell roses to me, 2 for 3. The second one, light dust fireflies. 8 a.m., I raised my eyelids, bleary eyes. A beam of light leaked between the shades, sweeping dust particles onto my pillow. Half awake, I thought of how beautiful brightness was. Those are the tiny dust particles that are only visible under strong light, said the high school physics teacher wearing black square glasses. He continued, like the bacteria you could only see under a microscope. In class, I stared at my fingernails, caked dirt and souvenir from camping. Sometimes I prefer darkness over light, so that I could pretend to ignore the trail of ants crawling underneath my tent at night, the death-shaped smear on the bedroom ceiling, the fear that the twinkle in your eyes was about to disappear. Once more, you were walking into the shimmer of the river, summer light dust accessorizing your hair. You're rambling about how much you love the specific shade of green where the 3 p.m. sunlight streams through tree leaves. I closed my eyes. Light year is a unit of astronomical distance. The distance light travels in 1 year, said the physics teacher. Or a metaphor for a long distance, I thought. You've left us for 2 years. It's the season of fireflies again. Lightning bugs and fireflies have such different connotations. Lightning reminds me of a cold day washed by rainstorm and untouchable destruction. Fires warm like the campfire in November, the stove forever boiling your favorite chicken soup. Fireflies use bioluminescence to attract mates or praise or a loved one. I thought of you again. What do people turn into after death? I see dust particles dancing in the vicious light. Third one, gravity. The attractive force by which all bodies tend to move towards the center of the earth. Oxford English Dictionary defines the reason why an apple dropped onto Newton's head 300 years ago, just like why the acorns kept falling in September 2019, and why your blue hammocks became slippery all of a sudden. I wasn't sure where to rest my fingers or lips. And somewhere in Bartram's garden, the river kept shimmering. A butterfly and a bee fell into the same cherry blossom. We fell in love. Thank you. So, last but not least, Mei Xiao is a junior studying computer science and hopes that poetry will fulfill her more than coding does. Her sense of humor is a bit hard to detect, and she loves to appreciate people by watching Hot Ones interviews on YouTube. Welcome. Hi, guys.
Question: who do you think of when you look at the sea? Answer: a sexy email. I don't know what kind of seas y'all are going to, but this piece that I'm gonna read today is in response to a book called Morelia. It's about a spy who kind of has amnesia and lives like the same day over and over in a really weird abstract world and doesn't really know how to describe things. Dentists are the dreaded scum of society, the utmost scum on the bottom of your shoe type things to exist. It takes me about 28 minutes to refuse the laughing gas, pushing the plastic away from my nose, that I'm rather sure is my natural nose. When I got my natural nose, I was born, I am pretty sure. My mother cradled me after the nurses wiped me off first, and I do not want laughing gas. My mother coos, "Ooh, what a needy little czar you are, ooh." The last ooh was pretty unnecessary, I tell her, and pull my baby blankets over my face in annoyance. I do not know what czar means. The man is a waiter dentist, and he offers me a sucker instead. I spit on him and shout, "Sucks to suck, sucker, bitch." The last part was kind of unnecessary, I'm sure someone would tell me, but I snatched the sucker from his blue-gloved hand as he wipes my phlegmy spit off his high cheekbones. I feel bad for spitting on my waiter, so I offer to take a walk. He declines and tries to get me to sit back down in my chair, but I know he's up to no good. I can see he is distracted for a moment, and I sprint out through the broken wall and kiss the receptionist on the way out. "You needy little bitch, Czar," my dentist screams, then flashes his tits at me. I scream and am momentarily blinded and accidentally knock over the water jug cooler on a breastfeeding dad in the waiting room. I steal a copy of Family Horror magazine and gasp at the cover. Britney Spears has now made herself an incredibly successful and honorable career as a lawyer now. I am so proud of her. She has faced such an unfair rise to fame and deserves everything that life and this broken society has to offer. The dentist's chair is too high, so I ask him to lean it back some more for me. He rolls his eyes and complies since his wife works for my health insurance company, though I'm not sure if I brought my insurance card or do not know my insurance card. His wife blackmailed me last Thursday because she saw me eat a roll of raw dough in my living room while watching the senior citizens in the nice yard. They all have teeth like mine, pearly white, rotting with secrets. My waiter drills into the yucky cesspool in the back right molar with a butter knife and whisks my cheek to soften the saliva. By the time the czar in my tooth is gone, I can feel grain production begin to increase again, and I fill with a fully describable joy. No one has ever cared for me like you do, I mutter into my dentist's mouth as we furiously French kiss. He whispers how much he loves me back, and I try to decide if pay me to drill all your cavities is a lot of love, and we have been married through 3 world wars since then. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, so much. Can we have another round of applause for all of these amazing poets? Thank you so much. Please join us for a reception. And if you're holding onto your portfolio, please put it there. Okay, thanks a lot. See you in a moment.